What would you do if you discovered the most powerful people in the kingdom were living a lie so dark it could destroy everything? And then they convinced the world that you were the one who was insane. Queen Catherine has been married to King William for 5 years, ruling alongside him as a respected and beloved monarch. But tonight, everything she believes about her life, her marriage, and her kingdom is about to shatter. Because Queen Catherine has just witnessed something that should be impossible. Her husband in a passionate embrace with his own sister, Princess Margaret. Not a familial kiss, not a moment of comfort, but the desperate passion of long-time lovers who think they're alone. For years, the royal siblings have hidden their forbidden relationship behind the facade of devoted family members. The Queen was never a wife. She was a cover story, a living lie designed to protect their horrific secret. But here's what Catherine doesn't know yet. Discovering their truth wasn't an accident. It was a test. And she's about to fail it in the most catastrophic way possible. Because when she threatens to expose them, the king and princess don't just silence her, they destroy her in a way that's far worse than death. They don't kill her body, they kill her credibility, her sanity, her very existence in the eyes of history. This is the Queen's madness, where truth becomes insanity, where witnesses become victims, and where the most dangerous thing you can do is see what powerful people want to keep hidden. Stay to discover if reality can survive when everyone with power agrees that it doesn't exist, and whether a queen can fight back when the entire world believes she's lost her mind. Queen Catherine walks through the castle corridors at midnight, unable to sleep after another evening of her husband's cold distance. Their marriage has grown steadily more formal, more empty, but she's attributed it to the pressures of ruling a kingdom. Tonight, she's seeking the king's private study to leave him a letter, a gentle plea for them to spend more time together, to reconnect as husband and wife. But as she approaches the study, she hears voices inside. Soft, intimate voices that make her pause. "William, we can't keep doing this," a woman says. "It's getting harder to hide." Catherine recognizes the voice. Princess Margaret, the king's younger sister who lives in the castle as an honored member of the royal family. "We've hidden it for 15 years, the king's voice replies. "We can manage a little longer." "Can we? Sometimes I think Catherine suspects something." Catherine frowns. "Suspects what?" She moves closer to the door, which stands slightly ajar. "Catherine suspects nothing," William says with contempt. "She's too naive, too trusting. She believes what we tell her to believe. But what if she finds out? What if someone sees us? Then we handle it. We've always handled it." Catherine is about to announce herself when she hears a sound that stops her cold. The unmistakable sound of passionate kissing. Through the crack in the door, she sees her husband and his sister in an embrace that no siblings should ever share. Their hands roam each other's bodies with the familiarity of long-time lovers, and their whispered endearments are anything but familial. "I love you," Margaret breathes against William's lips. "I've always loved you." "As I love you," he replies. "You're the only woman I've ever truly wanted." Catherine staggers backward, her mind reeling. Her marriage, her entire life as queen, it's all been a lie. An elaborate performance designed to hide the royal family's darkest secret. She flees to her chambers, her heart pounding with horror and betrayal. But even in her shock, her mind is working. This isn't just adultery, it's incest, a crime against God and nature that could tear the kingdom apart if exposed. The next morning, Catherine struggles to maintain normal appearances at breakfast. She watches her husband and sister-in-law interact, seeing their relationship with new eyes, the lingering glances, the subtle touches, the way they seem to communicate without words. "Catherine, you look pale," Margaret observes with apparent concern. "Are you feeling well?" "I'm fine," Catherine manages. "Just tired." "Perhaps you should rest more," William suggests. "You've seemed agitated lately." Oh, the comment is casual, but Catherine catches something underneath it, a warning perhaps, or a test. "I have been having trouble sleeping," she admits carefully. "Troubled dreams?" Margaret asks, her tone sympathetic, but her eyes calculating. Sometimes. Dreams about things that shouldn't be. The siblings exchange a quick glance, so fast anyone else would miss it. But Catherine is watching for it now. Perhaps you should speak with the court physician, William suggests. Disturbed sleep can be a sign of feminine hysteria. The word hysteria sends a chill down Catherine's spine. She's heard of queens and noble ladies being diagnosed with hysteria for inconvenient behavior or unwanted knowledge. I don't think that's necessary, she says quickly. Oh, but I insist. William's voice carries subtle authority. We can't have the queen suffering from delusions or seeing things that aren't there. The threat is crystal clear, wrapped in the language of concerned care. Catherine realizes she's walking into a trap, but she doesn't yet understand how deep it goes. That evening, she tries to gather evidence. She follows the sound of voices to the king's chambers and peers through the keyhole. What she sees confirms her worst fears. William and Margaret in bed together, their coupling passionate and practiced. But as she watches, frozen in horror, a hand falls on her shoulder. "Your Majesty," says Dame Eleanor, Margaret's lady-in-waiting, "what are you doing?" Catherine spins around, her face flushed with guilt and shock. I was looking for the king." "Were you? How strange. The king retired hours ago with strict orders not to be disturbed." Dame Eleanor's tone is perfectly innocent, but her eyes glitter with malicious knowledge. "Perhaps you were confused. It happens sometimes when the mind is under strain." "I'm not confused," Catherine says firmly. "I know what I saw." "Do you, Your Majesty? Because from where I stand, it looks like you were spying on an empty room, imagining things that don't exist." Catherine looks back through the keyhole, but the room is now dark and apparently empty. Either the siblings heard Dame Eleanor's approach and hid, or— "You're right," Dame Eleanor continues gently. "Your mind is playing tricks on you. Perhaps we should discuss this with His Majesty tomorrow." As Catherine walks back to her chambers, she realizes the trap has already been sprung. Whatever she thinks she saw, whatever she believes she knows, it's already being twisted into evidence of her own instability. The next morning, Queen Catherine wakes to find Dame Eleanor waiting in her chambers with a concerned expression. "Your Majesty, His Majesty requests your immediate presence in the throne room. There are concerns about last night's incident." Catherine's stomach drops. "What incident? Your Majesty, surely you remember. Dame Eleanor found you wandering the corridors, claiming to see things that weren't there. But it wasn't Dame Eleanor who found her. It was the other way around." Catherine is about to correct this when she realizes the trap, her word against a trusted servants, with no witnesses to support her version. In the throne room, King William sits with Princess Margaret and 3 court physicians. The formal setting immediately puts Catherine on the defensive. "Catherine, my dear," William's voice is gentle but public, "we're concerned about you. Dame Eleanor reports some troubling behavior last night. Dame Eleanor found Your Majesty peering into empty rooms, claiming to witness scenes of impropriety," Dr. Aldrich, the chief physician, explains. "Such delusions can be early signs of feminine hysteria." Catherine looks around the room, seeing the trap closing. Everyone present has been carefully chosen, people loyal to William or financially dependent on him. "I wasn't delusional. I saw—" "What did you see, sister?" Margaret asks with perfectly performed concern. "Please tell us exactly what you believe you witnessed." The question is brilliant. If Catherine tells the truth, she'll sound insane. If she lies, she'll appear to be having delusions. "I saw—" Catherine hesitates, realizing any answer damns her. "Take your time," Dr. Aldrich encourages. Hysteric patients often struggle to distinguish reality from fantasy. "I am not hysterical," Catherine snaps, then immediately regrets the outburst. It makes her look unstable. "Of course not, my love," William soothes, "but you've been under tremendous strain. The responsibilities of queenship are difficulties in producing an heir. He's bringing up their childless marriage, another source of shame and supposed feminine failure." "Perhaps," Margaret suggests delicately. Her Majesty is seeing romantic scenarios she wishes were real, unfulfilled desires manifesting as hallucinations. The suggestion is devastating. It reframes Catherine's accusations as sexual fantasy born from marital frustration. That's not, I don't, Catherine struggles to respond, without sounding more unstable. Doctor, Aldrich nods sagely. Sexual hysteria often presents as vivid hallucinations of forbidden acts. The mind creates what the body craves. Catherine realizes they've planned this perfectly. Every explanation makes her sound delusional. Every protest makes her seem more unbalanced. I know what I saw, she says quietly. And what exactly was that? William asks gently. Catherine looks around the room, at her husband who betrayed her, at his sister lover who's destroying her, at the physicians paid to declare her mad. She makes a desperate choice. The truth. I saw you and Margaret together, as lovers, in ways that siblings should never be. The silence is deafening. Then Dr. Aldrich makes a note. Specific delusions of incestuous behavior, classic symptom of advanced hysteria. Your Majesty, Margaret says with perfect wounded dignity, how could you accuse us of something so horrible? We're family. Perhaps, Dr. Fleming, the second physician, suggests, Her Majesty's mind is creating these scenarios to explain her own marital difficulties? William nods sadly. Catherine, I know our marriage hasn't been what you hoped, but creating these fantasies won't solve anything. They're not fantasies, Catherine shouts, then realizes she's playing right into their hands. The outburst is noted by all three doctors. Your Majesty, Dr. Aldrich says carefully, I'm recommending immediate treatment for acute hysteria, rest, isolation from stimulating influences, and therapeutic intervention. You mean confinement, Catherine says flatly. I mean healing, William corrects. Somewhere you can recover without the pressures of court life. Margaret takes Catherine's hand with false, sisterly affection. We only want what's best for you. This madness isn't your fault. The word madness hangs in the air like a death sentence. I'm not mad, Catherine whispers, but even she's beginning to doubt herself. Could she have imagined it all? Of course not, William agrees. You're ill, but illness can be cured. Dr. Aldrich produces a document. I've prepared commitment papers for Her Majesty's own protection. Catherine stares at the papers that will strip away her freedom, her title, her very identity. And if I refuse treatment, then your condition will worsen, Dr. Fleming explains. Untreated hysteria can lead to complete mental collapse, violent outbursts, danger to yourself and others. We can't risk that, William says with apparent anguish, not when the kingdom needs stability. Catherine realizes the genius of their trap. They've made her testimony worthless by making her the accused instead of the accuser. Every word she speaks in her defense becomes evidence of her illness. Where would this treatment take place? She asks quietly. St. Agatha's retreat, Margaret says gently. A peaceful place where you can rest and heal. Catherine knows St. Agatha's by reputation, a remote asylum where inconvenient nobles disappear permanently. And when would I return? The pause before William answers tells her everything. When you're completely well, my dear, however long that takes, which means never. That afternoon, Catherine sits in her chambers under medical supervision, with Dame Eleanor watching her every move. But Catherine isn't broken yet. She's analyzing the conspiracy that's destroying her. Dame Eleanor, she says carefully, how long have you served Princess Margaret? 7 years, Your Majesty, since before your marriage to the king. And in that time, have you ever noticed anything unusual about the royal family's relationships? Dame Eleanor's expression doesn't change. I'm not sure what Your Majesty means. But Catherine catches something in her eyes, not confusion, but careful neutrality. Dame Eleanor knows exactly what she means. I mean the closeness between the king and his sister. Surely you've observed, Your Majesty, Eleanor interrupts gently. Perhaps we shouldn't dwell on these troubling thoughts. Dr. Aldrich says obsessing over delusions only makes them stronger. Catherine realizes Eleanor isn't just a servant. She's a guardian, placed there to monitor and control her. Later, when Eleanor steps out momentarily, Catherine searches her own chambers for evidence. In her jewelry box, she finds something that chills her blood. A letter in Margaret's handwriting. "My darling William, last night was heaven. I count the hours until we can be alone again. Your devoted M." But as Catherine reads it, the ink begins to fade. The letter dissolves in her hands like it was written with disappearing ink. "Your Majesty?" Eleanor returns to find Catherine staring at blank parchment. There was writing here. A letter from Margaret to William. Love letters. Eleanor examines the empty page with theatrical concern. "Your Majesty, there's nothing here. Perhaps you're seeing writing that isn't there?" Catherine stares at the blank parchment, doubt creeping in. Did she imagine the letter? Is she actually going mad? That evening, Dr. Aldrich arrives for a consultation. But he's not alone. He brings Sir Thomas, the castle's chief advisor, and Lord Hartwell, Margaret's closest ally. "Your Majesty," Doctor. Aldrich begins, "We need to discuss your condition honestly." "What condition? I'm perfectly sane." "Are you?" Sir Thomas asks gently. "Because several people have reported concerning behavior." He produces a scroll. "Dame Eleanor reports you've been talking to empty rooms, claiming to hear conversations that aren't happening. The kitchen staff say you've been asking strange questions about the royal family's private affairs. Even your own chambermaids are worried." Catherine's heart sinks. They've been building a case against her for days, maybe weeks. "Lord Hartwell," Dr. Aldrich continues, "please share what you observed yesterday." "I saw Her Majesty hiding behind tapestries, spying on normal family interactions between the King and Princess Margaret. When they embraced as siblings do, she became agitated, claiming to see inappropriate behavior." "That's not what happened," Catherine protests. "Then what did happen, Your Majesty?" Dr. Aldrich asks, with clinical interest. Catherine realizes she can't explain without sounding more insane. Their embrace was, it looked inappropriate to you because your mind is creating scenarios that don't exist, Lord Hartwell finishes. Classic hysteria. Dr. Aldrich makes notes. Visual hallucinations, paranoid delusions, inability to distinguish appropriate family affection from inappropriate behavior. "I'm not hallucinating!" Catherine shouts, then catches herself. Every outburst makes her seem more unhinged. "Your Majesty," Sir Thomas says carefully, "there's something else. The Treasury reports show you've been mismanaging the royal finances." "What? I haven't touched the Treasury." "Haven't you?" He produces ledgers. "These show irregular withdrawals, payments to unknown parties, financial chaos that could bankrupt the kingdom." Catherine stares at the ledgers in horror. The handwriting looks like hers, but she has no memory of making these transactions. "I didn't write any of this." "Your Majesty," Dr. Aldrich explains patiently, "hysteric patients often perform actions during episodes and forget them afterward. The mind protects itself by erasing traumatic memories. They've forged her handwriting perfectly. Every piece of evidence has been fabricated to build an unshakable case of madness." "Why are you doing this to me?" she whispers. The question hangs in the air. For a moment, she sees flickers of guilt on some faces. Not everyone in the room is complicit, she realizes. Some genuinely believe she's ill. "We're trying to help you," Dr. Aldrich says, and Catherine thinks he might actually believe it. Mental illness is a disease, not a moral failing. But when she looks at Sir Thomas, she sees calculation rather than concern. He knows the truth, but has chosen to participate in the lie. "The commitment papers are ready, Doctor." Aldrich announces, "St. Agatha's has prepared a private room where Your Majesty can receive proper treatment. And if I refuse to sign, then we'll have to declare you incompetent and commit you involuntarily," Sir Thomas explains, "for the kingdom's safety and your own." Catherine sees the trap's final layer. If she signs, she admits to being insane. If she refuses, they declare her incompetent anyway. Either way, she disappears. "When do I leave?" she asks quietly. "Tomorrow morning. Before dawn, to avoid public spectacle. They want her gone before anyone who might support her can intervene. May I say goodbye to anyone?" "Your Majesty," Lord Hartwell says gently, "in your condition, emotional farewells might trigger violent episodes. It's better if you simply transition quietly to treatment. No goodbyes, no witnesses, no chance for last-minute rescue. They've thought of everything." As the men leave, Catherine realizes she has one night to either escape or gather proof of the conspiracy. But how do you prove your sanity to a world that's been convinced you're mad? Catherine lies in her bed, feigning sleep while Dame Eleanor dozes in a chair nearby. This is her last night of freedom, possibly her last night of sanity if the asylum breaks her mind completely. At midnight she slips from her bed and moves silently to her chamber door. It's locked from the outside. She's already a prisoner in everything but name. But Catherine remembers something from her childhood. A hidden passage behind the fireplace that connects the Queen's chambers to the King's study. Her predecessor used it to spy on court meetings. She carefully moves the loose stone and crawls through the narrow passage, emerging in William's private study just as she hears voices approaching. William and Margaret enter, thinking they're completely alone. "Tomorrow she disappears forever," William says with satisfaction. "The madness narrative is perfect. No one will ever believe a word she says." "Are you certain the asylum will keep her quiet permanently?" Margaret asks, settling into William's arms with practiced ease. "Dr. Whitmore owes me substantial gambling debts. He'll ensure Catherine receives intensive treatment that keeps her incapacitated indefinitely." Margaret laughs cruelly. Intensive treatment. Such a gentle way to describe torture. Catherine's blood runs cold. They're not just committing her, they're arranging for her to be slowly destroyed. "What if she tries to tell other patients about us?" Margaret continues. "Who would believe the ravings of a hysteric? Besides, Whitmore specializes in making patients forget inconvenient memories." "How?" "Ice baths, starvation, isolation, laudanum addiction. Within 6 months, Catherine won't remember her own name, let alone our secret." "Ugh." Catherine covers her mouth to stifle a gasp of horror. "They're planning to erase her mind completely. Sometimes I almost feel guilty," Margaret admits. "She was a good queen. She was a threat, and threats must be eliminated." William's voice turns cold. "Besides, she served her purpose. 5 years of marriage gave our relationship perfect cover. Do you think she suspected before last week? Impossible. She's too naive. Remember when she asked why we don't have children? She actually suggested prayers and pilgrimages." They laugh together at Catherine's innocence, and she realizes how completely they've manipulated her entire marriage. "What about the council?" Margaret asks. "Won't some members question her sudden madness?" Sir Thomas is handling that. He's spreading stories about Catherine's erratic behavior, her financial mismanagement, her violent outbursts. By the time she's committed, everyone will see it as necessary. Catherine realizes Sir Thomas isn't just complicit, he's the architect of her character assassination. And after she's gone, we rule together as we always should have. Brother and sister, king and princess, no one will ever suspect the truth. What if we have children? William's hands roam Margaret's body possessively. We'll claim their mine from a secret mistress. Royal bastards are common enough. Catherine watches in horror as they begin to make love on the very desk where her commitment papers were signed. The casual cruelty, the complete lack of guilt or remorse, reveals them as monsters wearing human faces. But finally, she has what she needs, concrete proof of their conspiracy. Now she just needs someone who will listen. She crawls back through the passage and finds Dame Eleanor still sleeping. Carefully, she searches Eleanor's belongings and finds something crucial, a letter of instruction from Margaret. "Eleanor, ensure the Queen exhibits signs of madness at breakfast tomorrow. The physicians will be watching. Remember, Violent outbursts earn extra payment. Eleanor isn't just a guard. She's been paid to provoke Catherine into behavior that will be interpreted as insanity. Catherine pockets the letter and slips back into bed. But sleep is impossible. In a few hours, they'll come for her, and once she's in that asylum, no one will ever hear her voice again, unless a desperate plan begins forming. If she's going to be declared mad anyway, she might as well use that madness as a weapon. At dawn, as Eleanor wakes and begins preparing for Catherine's treatment, Catherine puts her plan into motion. "Good morning, Eleanor. Such a beautiful day to destroy an innocent woman's life." Eleanor startles. "Your Majesty?" "Oh, don't worry. I know exactly what you've been paid to do. In fact, I'm going to help you earn that money." "I don't understand." "Of course you don't. You're just a servant following orders, but I'm the queen of this realm, and I'm about to give a royal performance that will be remembered forever." Eleanor reaches for the bell pull to summon help, but Catherine grabs her wrist. "Don't. Let me explain what's going to happen. You're going to watch me have the most spectacular breakdown in royal history. And when I'm done, everyone in this castle will know exactly why I went mad. Your Majesty, please, please what? Please go quietly to my torture and death. Please let my husband and his sister-lover destroy me without a fight." Eleanor's eyes widen at the casual mention of the incest, confirming she knows the truth. "That's right, Eleanor. You know what they are. You've been helping them hide it for years. But today, their secret becomes my weapon." Catherine moves to her wardrobe and begins dressing in her most elaborate royal gown. "If I'm going to be declared insane, I'm going to make sure everyone remembers exactly what drove me to madness. And when they drag me away screaming the truth, some people will start asking questions." Now she turns to face Eleanor with a smile that's both desperate and determined. "Tell me, Eleanor, are you ready to watch a queen burn down a kingdom to save it?" Catherine sweeps into the great hall for breakfast, wearing her coronation gown, her crown, and every piece of royal jewelry she owns. The entire court is present, nobles, advisors, servants, and guards. Everyone has come to witness the Mad Queen's final appearance. She takes her throne with regal dignity, then suddenly stands and addresses the assembled crowd. "My beloved subjects," her voice carries clearly through the hall, "today you witness a great tragedy, the destruction of truth by those who profit from lies." King William looks alarmed. "Catherine, perhaps you should rest." "Rest?" She laughs. But it's not the laugh of a madwoman. It's the bitter laugh of someone who's seen behind the mask. "I've been resting for 5 years, husband. Resting while you and your sister have been playing house in my marriage bed." Gasps ripple through the hall. Several nobles exchange startled glances. "Catherine!" Margaret steps forward with apparent concern. "Sister, you're having another episode." "Episode?" Catherine's voice rises. "Is that what we're calling it when a wife discovers her husband's true lover? When a queen realizes she's been nothing but a convenient lie?" Dr. Aldrich hurries forward. "Your Majesty, please calm yourself. These delusions..." "Delusions!" Catherine spins toward him. "Doctor, tell the court, what's the medical term for seeing your husband kiss his sister with the passion of long-time lovers? Your Majesty is clearly... What's the diagnosis when a wife finds love letters between her husband and his sister, when she witnesses them coupling like animals in heat?" The hall erupts in shocked murmurs. This isn't the rambling of a madwoman. This is specific, detailed testimony. "The Queen is having a complete breakdown," Sir Thomas announces loudly. "Guards, restrain her before she hurts herself." But Catherine isn't finished. "Sir Thomas, tell the court about your meeting with Dr. Whitmore, about the special treatment I'm to receive at St. Agatha's, the ice baths, the starvation, the laudanum until I forget my own name." Sir Thomas goes pale. Catherine couldn't possibly know about Whitmore unless she'd overheard something she shouldn't have. "Tell them about the forged financial records, Thomas, about the payments to Dame Eleanor for provoking me to madness, about the disappearing ink used in fake love letters." With each revelation, Catherine sees recognition in various faces. Not everyone in the hall is complicit. Some are beginning to realize they've been deceived. "Guards!" William commands. "Seize the Queen immediately!" But the guards hesitate. Catherine's accusations are too specific, too detailed to dismiss as ravings. "Before you silence me," Catherine continues, "know this. I spent last night documenting everything. Names, dates, payments, plans. I've written it all down and hidden it where my husband and his whore-sister will never find it." Margaret's composure finally cracks. "You lying bitch, you're insane!" The vulgar outburst from the refined princess shocks the court more than Catherine's accusations. "Am I insane, Margaret?" Catherine asks with deadly calm. "Then explain this." She produces Eleanor's instruction letter and reads it aloud. "Eleanor, ensure the Queen exhibits signs of madness at breakfast tomorrow. The physicians will be watching. Remember, violent outbursts earn extra payment." Eleanor, who's been watching from the servants' area, tries to flee but is blocked by guards. "Dame Eleanor," Catherine calls sweetly, "would you like to explain this letter to the court? Or shall I tell them how you've been paid to drive me mad?" "Doctor." Aldrich steps forward desperately. "Your Majesty, in advanced hysteria, patients often fabricate elaborate conspiracies." "Doctor," Catherine interrupts, "would you like me to recite the exact words you spoke to Dr. Whitmore about erasing my memory? Because I heard every word." The physician's face drains of color. Impossible. She was locked in her chambers when those conversations took place. "Tell me, court," Catherine addresses the assembled nobles, "when did you ever see a mad woman present evidence this methodically? When did delusions ever include specific documentation and witness testimony?" Lord Pemberton, an elderly advisor, speaks up hesitantly. "Your Majesty raises troubling questions." "Does she?" William's voice turns dangerous. "Or is this exactly what Dr. Aldrich warned us about, the final stage of hysteria where patients become convinced of their own fantasies?" But Catherine has one final card to play. "Guards, I order you as your rightful queen to arrest King William and Princess Margaret for treason, incest, and conspiracy to commit regicide." "You can't give orders," Margaret screams. "You're mad. Everyone knows you're mad." "If I'm mad," Catherine replies calmly, "then my accusations are meaningless ravings. But if I'm sane, then I'm your queen giving lawful commands to my subjects." The guards look uncertain, torn between conflicting authorities. "Choose carefully," Catherine tells them, "because if I'm telling the truth and you help commit your rightful queen to an asylum for knowing that truth, then you're traitors to the crown." Captain Morris, the guard commander, makes a crucial decision. "Your Majesty, we need to investigate these claims before taking any action. It's not the full support Catherine hoped for, but it's not immediate arrest either." William realizes he's losing control. "Captain Morris, I order you to arrest the Queen for treason and madness. And I order you to arrest the King for incest and conspiracy," Catherine counters. The hall falls silent as everyone realizes they're witnessing a battle for the very legitimacy of the crown. Both rulers are giving conflicting orders, and the guards must choose which authority to recognize. Captain Morris looks around the divided hall and makes the only decision possible. "I'm placing both their majesties under house arrest until these matters can be properly investigated." Catherine smiles triumphantly. She's achieved the impossible. She's forced the truth into the light, even if it destroys everything. The castle is in chaos. Within hours of Catherine's dramatic breakdown, the Great Council convenes in emergency session. Lords, advisors, and church officials gather to determine the truth behind the Queen's explosive accusations. Lord Pemberton, as the eldest member of the council, takes charge. "We face an unprecedented crisis. Either our Queen is suffering from madness, or she's exposed crimes that threaten the very foundation of our kingdom." Bishop Cornelius speaks gravely. "The accusations of incest are particularly serious. If proven true, the royal line itself becomes illegitimate under God's law." Sir Thomas tries to maintain control. "Surely we're not taking seriously the ravings of a woman already diagnosed with hysteria by 3 qualified physicians." Are we? Lord Pemberton asks pointedly. Because Dame Eleanor has confessed to being paid to provoke the Queen's behaviour. That suggests a conspiracy to fabricate evidence of madness. Eleanor, under questioning, had broken completely. Faced with documents proving her payments, she'd admitted to years of manipulating Catherine's behaviour and reporting fabricated incidents to the physicians. The financial records concern me most, adds Lord Hartwell, who'd been part of the conspiracy but is now desperately trying to save himself. If the Queen was truly mismanaging funds, we should be able to trace the missing gold. We can, announces Master Benedict, the royal treasurer, entering with armloads of ledgers. I've spent the morning examining every transaction. The supposedly fraudulent withdrawals all have one thing in common, which is they were all made during times when Her Majesty was publicly attending court functions. She has dozens of witnesses proving she was nowhere near the Treasury when these transactions allegedly occurred. The revelation hits the room like a thunderbolt. The financial evidence against Catherine is completely fabricated. Furthermore, Benedict continues, the handwriting analysis reveals subtle differences in pen pressure and letter formation. Someone skilled in forgery created these documents. Bishop Cornelius leans forward. Master Benedict, in your professional opinion, is the Queen guilty of financial mismanagement? Not only is she innocent, Your Grace, but the real Treasury records show she's been extraordinarily careful with the kingdom's funds. More careful than previous administrations. The pointed comment about previous administrations doesn't go unnoticed. Benedict is suggesting William himself has been less careful with money. Meanwhile, in another part of the castle, a separate investigation unfolds. Lady Isabel, Catherine's former lady-in-waiting who'd been dismissed months earlier, returns with devastating testimony. I was dismissed, she tells the investigators, because I walked in on King William and Princess Margaret in a compromising position. When I expressed shock, I was immediately removed from service and threatened with exile if I spoke of what I'd seen. What exactly did you see? Asks Father Marcus, the castle chaplain conducting interviews. They were intimate, beyond any appropriate familial relationship. The princess was undressed, and the king was. The scene was unmistakably romantic in nature. Why didn't you report this earlier? I was told that if I ever spoke of it, I would be declared mad and committed to an asylum. Given what's happened to Her Majesty, it seems that wasn't an idle threat. Other servants begin coming forward with similar stories. Margaret's personal maid admits to washing blood-stained bedsheets that came from the king's chambers rather than Margaret's own room. Kitchen staff report delivering intimate late-night meals to locations where the siblings met in secret. But the most damaging evidence comes from an unexpected source, the castle's architect. Master Robert approaches Lord Pemberton privately. My lord, there's something you should know about the castle's construction, something I helped build 15 years ago. What kind of something? A hidden passage connecting the king's chambers directly to Princess Margaret's rooms. King William commissioned it personally and swore me to secrecy. A passage? For what purpose? He claimed it was for security, so the royal family could move safely during emergencies. But the design, it bypasses all guard posts, all public areas. It's designed for complete secrecy, not security. The architectural evidence proves the siblings have had the means for clandestine meetings for over a decade, long before Catherine ever arrived at the castle. As evidence mounts, the 3 physicians who diagnosed Catherine face their own reckoning. Dr. Aldrich, Lord Pemberton questions, how did you reach your diagnosis of hysteria so quickly? The symptoms were obvious: visual hallucinations, paranoid delusions, violent outbursts. Were they? Because multiple witnesses now testify that the Queen never had violent outbursts until Dame Eleanor began provoking them deliberately. I observed what I was told to observe. Told by whom? The physician realizes he's trapped. Sir Thomas provided background information that guided my assessment. So your medical opinion was based not on your own observations, but on information provided by someone we now know was part of the conspiracy? Dr. Aldrich has no answer. By evening, the investigation has uncovered a conspiracy so extensive it staggers the council. Forged documents, bribed witnesses, threatened servants, fabricated medical diagnoses, and architectural evidence of long-term deception. Lord Pemberton delivers the preliminary findings to the emergency council session. Gentlemen, the evidence suggests Queen Catherine is not only sane, but has been the victim of an elaborate conspiracy to destroy her credibility and remove her from power. And the incest allegations? Bishop Cornelius asks. Multiple witnesses, physical evidence, and 15 years of suspicious behavior patterns. The charges appear credible. The room falls silent as everyone processes the implications. What are our options? Someone asks quietly. Lord Pemberton looks around the room grimly. We either have a mad queen who should be committed, or we have a sane queen who's discovered that our king has been committing crimes against God and nature for over a decade. And if it's the latter, then we must decide whether to save the crown or save the truth. The Great Council convenes in secret session at midnight. 12 of the kingdom's most powerful lords, 3 bishops, and the realm's Chief Justice must decide the fate of the crown itself. Lord Pemberton addresses the assembly with grave formality. Gentlemen, we face a choice that will define our kingdom for generations. The evidence is overwhelming. Queen Catherine speaks truth, and our king stands accused of crimes that make him unfit to rule. Bishop Cornelius speaks first. Under canon law, incest renders any royal line illegitimate. If King William and Princess Margaret have if their relationship is as described, then William's claim to the throne is invalid under God's law. But practically speaking, interrupts Lord Ashworth, exposing this truth destroys the stability of the realm. Foreign powers will see weakness. The common people will lose faith in the crown entirely. Justice Blackwood leans forward. Are we seriously considering covering up crimes to maintain political stability? We're considering what's best for the kingdom, Sir Thomas argues desperately. One woman's accusations against 15 years of stable rule. One woman? Lord Pemberton's voice turns cold. Sir Thomas, you've been exposed as the architect of the conspiracy against Queen Catherine. Your opinion carries no weight in this chamber. Sir Thomas realizes his position is hopeless, but he makes one final attempt. Even if the accusations are true, the damage of exposure far outweighs the benefit of justice. Does it? Bishop Marcus speaks up. Because I've spent the day interviewing castle staff. This relationship between the royal siblings is an open secret among the servants. How long before foreign spies learn what our own people already know? The revelation that the incest is already widely known changes everything. They're not choosing between truth and stability. They're choosing between controlled revelation and inevitable scandal. What evidence do we have of actual crimes? Justice Blackwood asks. Lord Pemberton produces a stack of documents. Conspiracy to commit fraud, forgery of royal documents, bribery of court officials, conspiracy to unlawfully commit a citizen, specifically the Queen, attempted destruction of evidence, perjury before the crown, and the incest itself, multiple eyewitness accounts, architectural evidence of secret passages, 15 years of suspicious behavior patterns, more than enough for conviction under royal law. Bishop Cornelius adds grimly, I've also discovered something else. Princess Margaret has been taking herbal preventatives to avoid pregnancy. The castle's herbalist admits to providing them for years. The implication is clear. The siblings have been actively managing their relationship to avoid inconvenient consequences. Gentlemen, Lord Pemberton continues, we have 3 options. First, accept Queen Catherine's madness, commit her to asylum, and hope this scandal never surfaces again. Impossible, Justice Blackwood interjects. Too many people know the truth now. We'd be covering up crimes that will inevitably be exposed. Second option, expose everything publicly. Try both the king and princess for their crimes. Restore Queen Catherine to full authority. That destroys the crown's legitimacy, Lord Ashworth argues. Foreign powers will invade a kingdom in chaos. Third option, Pemberton finishes, we handle this quietly. King William abdicates due to illness. Princess Margaret enters a convent permanently. Queen Catherine rules as regent until a suitable heir can be found. The room considers this compromise solution. What about justice, Bishop Marcus asks. Do William and Margaret face no consequences for their crimes? Exile and lifelong separation is punishment, Pemberton argues, and it preserves the kingdom's stability. But their debate is interrupted by urgent news. Captain Morris bursts into the council chamber. My lords, forgive the intrusion, but there's been a development. What kind of development? King William and Princess Margaret have escaped during the night shift change. They overpowered their guards and fled the castle. The news hits the chamber like a physical blow. How? Justice Blackwood demands. The secret passage Master Robert revealed. They used their own escape route. Lord Pemberton stands slowly. How long have they been gone? At least 3 hours. They could be anywhere by now. Bishop Cornelius speaks what everyone is thinking. They've fled because they know the truth is coming out. Their escape is an admission of guilt. It's also a catastrophe, Lord Ashworth adds. A king and princess fleeing in the night makes them look guilty of everything they're accused of. What about Queen Catherine? Someone asks. She's been asking to address the council personally, Captain Morris reports. Bring her, Lord Pemberton orders. Minutes later, Catherine enters the chamber. Gone is any pretense of madness or instability. She carries herself with the dignity of a queen who's fought for her crown and won. My lords, she begins formally, I understand my husband and his sister have fled rather than face judgment for their crimes. They have, Your Majesty. What are your commands? Catherine looks around the room. At men who hours earlier were ready to commit her to an asylum, now seeking her leadership. Send riders to every border. Issue warrants for their arrest. Post rewards for information leading to their capture. And then, Your Majesty, then we clean house. Everyone who participated in the conspiracy faces trial. Everyone who knew the truth and stayed silent faces judgment. And everyone who helps us rebuild this kingdom earns a place in its future. Her voice grows stronger. Gentlemen, this kingdom will not be ruled by fear, lies, or the assumption that truth is too dangerous for the people to know. Lord Pemberton bows. Your Majesty, the Council recognizes your authority and pledges our loyalty to your rule. It's official. Catherine has survived the conspiracy, reclaimed her crown, and begun the process of rebuilding a kingdom nearly destroyed by royal lies. But as she accepts the Council's loyalty, a messenger arrives with news that will test her newfound power immediately. The messenger bursts into the council chamber, breathless and mud-stained from hard riding. Your Majesty, he gasps, King William and Princess Margaret have been captured at the eastern border. They were attempting to flee to the neighboring kingdom of Valdris. Queen Catherine receives this news with calm dignity. Under what circumstances were they taken? They were traveling with stolen royal treasury funds, Your Majesty. Enough gold to live comfortably in exile for decades. The theft of royal funds adds another crime to their list, but more importantly, it proves they never intended to return or face justice. Where are they now? In the dungeons, Your Majesty, under heavy guard. Catherine stands, and every man in the chamber rises with her. Gentlemen, the time for deliberation has ended. Justice must now be served. The next day, the Great Hall is packed for the most dramatic trial in the kingdom's history. William and Margaret stand in chains before a tribunal of judges, with Catherine presiding as both wronged party and rightful queen. William of House Aldred, Chief Justice Blackwood begins formally. You stand accused of incest, conspiracy, fraud, theft of royal funds, and treason against the crown. How do you plead? William, stripped of his royal regalia and looking haggard from his failed escape, maintains his arrogance. I plead innocence. Everything I did was for the good of the kingdom, including committing crimes against nature with your sister. I refuse to dignify that accusation with a response. But Margaret, broken by capture and facing death, takes a different approach. Your Majesty, I confess, everything the Queen accused us of is true. The admission sends shockwaves through the packed hall. Margaret, be silent, William hisses. No, she shouts back. I'm tired of lies, tired of hiding, tired of destroying innocent people to protect our secret. She turns to Catherine. Your Majesty, I confess to an incestuous relationship with my brother that began 15 years ago. I confess to conspiring to have you declared mad to protect that secret. I confess to theft, forgery, and every crime we committed to cover our tracks. Catherine listens to the confession with no visible emotion. And do you express remorse for these crimes? I express remorse for destroying you, Margaret replies. Our relationship was wrong, but the greater sin was trying to destroy an innocent woman to hide it. William stares at his sister in horror. You're condemning us both. I'm finally telling the truth, something we should have done years ago. Justice Blackwood addresses William. The co-conspirator in your crimes has confessed fully. Do you maintain your innocence despite overwhelming evidence and your sister's testimony? William realizes he has no choice. I admit to the relationship, but not to the conspiracy against Catherine. That was Margaret's idea entirely. Liar! Margaret screams. You planned every detail. You forged the documents. You bribed the physicians. You arranged for Catherine's torture at the asylum. The siblings' mutual accusations destroy any remaining sympathy the court might have had. Catherine finally speaks. I have heard enough. William and Margaret of House Aldred, your crimes are proven beyond doubt. Your confessions are recorded before God and witnesses. She stands, every inch the rightful queen. For the crime of incest, the punishment under royal law is death. For conspiracy against the crown, the punishment is death. For theft of royal treasury, the punishment is death. The hall holds its breath. However, Catherine continues, I am not the same woman you tried to destroy. Your cruelty taught me that justice must be tempered with wisdom. William looks up hopefully, but Catherine's next words crush that hope. William, you will be executed at dawn for treason against the crown. Your crimes as king make you unfit for the mercy I might show to a common criminal. William collapses to his knees. Catherine, please. You will address me as your Majesty, and you lost the right to my mercy when you planned my torture and destruction. She turns to Margaret. Princess Margaret, your confession shows genuine remorse. Your cooperation in exposing the full scope of the conspiracy demonstrates some remaining honor. What is my sentence, Your Majesty? Life imprisonment in the convent of St. Agatha's, the same place you planned to send me for torture and madness. You will spend your remaining years in prayer and penance, remembering the woman you tried to destroy. It's brilliant justice. Margaret lives, but in the exact prison they'd prepared for Catherine. Furthermore, Catherine continues, all conspirators in this plot will face judgment. Sir Thomas will face execution for treason. Dame Eleanor will face 10 years in prison for her crimes. The physicians will be stripped of their licenses and exiled. She addresses the packed hall. Let this serve as warning to all who would conspire against truth, justice, or the rightful authority of the crown. No secret is so dark it justifies destroying innocent lives to protect it. Machidu. The next morning, William is led to the executioner's block. His final words are not an apology to Catherine, but a curse. You think you've won, but this kingdom will never accept a queen who destroyed her own king. Catherine watches the execution from her throne, unmoved by his threats. This kingdom will accept a queen who chose truth over comfortable lies. As William's head falls, a new era begins. Catherine has not only survived the conspiracy, but emerged stronger, wiser, and absolutely committed to a form of justice that protects the innocent rather than the powerful. That evening, alone in her chambers, Catherine finds a letter that Margaret smuggled out before her imprisonment. "Your Majesty, you showed me more mercy than I deserved. I will spend my remaining years praying for your forgiveness and the soul of my brother, who I loved too much and too wrongly. You are the queen this kingdom deserves, Margaret." Catherine burns the letter and looks out at her kingdom, scarred by scandal but cleansed by truth. She's no longer the naive woman who married William 5 years ago. She's become something far more dangerous to those who would prey on the innocent, a queen who knows exactly how monsters operate, and who will spend her reign ensuring they never find fertile ground in her kingdom again. In the end, Queen Catherine discovered the most terrifying truth of all. The greatest madness isn't losing your grip on reality. It's living in a world where everyone with power agrees that reality doesn't exist. When she witnessed her husband and sister-in-law's forbidden relationship, Catherine thought she'd stumbled onto a secret, but she'd actually stumbled into a trap 15 years in the making. Because William and Margaret didn't just commit incest, they built an entire system designed to destroy anyone who discovered their truth. The most chilling aspect of this story isn't the incest itself. Forbidden relationships have existed throughout history. It's the methodical, systematic way they weaponized the concept of madness to eliminate threats. They turned Catherine's own credibility against her, making her truth sound like insanity. Every woman who's ever been called hysterical for speaking uncomfortable truths will recognize Catherine's nightmare. The way her evidence disappeared, her witnesses were discredited. Her very sanity was questioned for seeing what was right in front of her eyes. But here's what makes Catherine's victory so powerful. She didn't just survive their gaslighting. She turned it into a weapon against them. When they pushed her toward a public breakdown, she used that breakdown to force the truth into the light where it couldn't be hidden or twisted. The most profound moment isn't when she exposes the incest or even when she reclaims her throne. It's when she chooses justice over revenge. William dies, not because he betrayed her personally, but because his crimes made him unfit to rule. Margaret lives not because Catherine forgives her, but because justice sometimes requires mercy to be complete. Catherine learned that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is tell the truth about powerful people. But she also learned that the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to let their lies define your reality. This story forces us to confront some uncomfortable questions. When someone in authority tells us we're wrong about what we witnessed, how do we know whether to trust them or ourselves? When the system protects those who abuse it, how do we fight back without being destroyed in the process? And when speaking truth puts us at risk, do we choose safety or integrity? The truth is, we all face moments when reality conflicts with what powerful people want us to believe. Catherine's story shows us that sanity isn't about never being called crazy. It's about knowing the difference between what's real and what's convenient for others to believe. Real strength isn't about never being vulnerable to those who would destroy us. It's about surviving their attempts at destruction and emerging with our integrity intact, our compassion preserved, and our commitment to justice unbroken. The greatest madness of all is accepting a world where truth is whatever the powerful say it is, where victims are automatically unreliable witnesses to their own suffering, and where questioning authority is itself evidence of mental illness. If this story resonated with you, if you believe that reality exists independently of who benefits from it, and that justice requires protecting truth-tellers rather than silencing them, subscribe for more medieval tales about characters who refuse to let lies become their reality. Because in the end, the Queen's madness isn't just about a woman who survived systematic gaslighting. It's about what happens when we stop letting powerful people define sanity for us and start trusting what we know to be true, regardless of the cost.